All right, let's start our stage 7 review. Here I have a list of 8 verbs on the left, and I have a whole list of English translations on the right. I want you to hit pause, and I want you to look at the verbs on the left and decide which sentences on the right should go with those verbs. So hit pause and see how you do. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the sentence on the right, and I'm going to decide whether or not I can find a verb on the left that goes with it. So the first one I have is Caecilius feared the gladiator. I'm going to be looking for the word feared. Over here it is, teruit, and I need to decide whether or not feared matches teruit or not. Well, feared is perfect tense. In English, it's perfect. So I'm looking for something in the perfect tense. Do I have a perfect tense teruit here? The answer is yes. The clue that I have is a perfect clue with the letter U, and if I remember my vocabulary, I remember that tereo is terera, which is second conjugation, which means that I would need teret in order to get a present tense, and then of course I need that BA marker to get imperfect tense. I don't get either one of those, so I use teruit. So this one right here is going to have a verb that matches it on the left. Melissa told a lie. So I'm looking for perfect again, and I'm looking for told. It looks like narrate is the word that I'm going to use. Is it perfect? The answer is no. It is present tense, so this one does not have a matching verb on the left. Melissa is preparing, so I'm looking for something with paro. I have it right here. Is preparing is present tense. Parat is also present tense, so I also have a verb on the left that matches that sentence. The next one I have is the boy sees. Sees is present tense, so I'm looking for a word over here that sees. It looks like it's conspicuous. Is that present tense? Yes, it is. It doesn't have any perfect clues. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not perfect. What I have to remember is that conspicuo is conspicere, E-R-E, and that it takes an IT for the present. He caught sight of. Caught sight of is in the perfect tense. Conspicuous is not in the perfect tense. We already decided that, so it's gone. The slave was eating. That was is a perfect marker, BA, so I need an eating. Over here it is, kanalit. Here it is, kanalit. That is not in the imperfect tense because it doesn't have the BA tense marker. See you later. The master was asking, so I need an asking verb over here. Looking for a rogo. I do have one. Here it is. Rogo bought. Was is a tense marker. It looks for the BA. Do I have a BA here? The answer is yes. So again, I have a sentence that matches rogo bought. The girl was crying. Was is imperfect. That's my tense marker in English. So I need BA. I need a verb that means crying and have lakrmabat. It does have that BA tense marker. So again, I have a sentence that matches. Romeo understood. Understood is my verb. It is in the past tense, the perfect tense. So I need an understood verb over here. It is intellexit. Is that perfect? It does have that X right there. That X is a perfect clue. I need to think about what the word is. It's intelligere, so that G is there instead of that X. The X being there makes it a perfect clue. So I do have a sentence that matches it. The stranger asked. So I'm looking at rogo again. Is it perfect? The answer is no. See you later. The guest ate. So I'm looking for an 8 word. Kanawit. Does that match? The answer is yes, it does. So I have kanawit in the perfect tense. That B is the perfect clue. So I have a matching sentence. Felix tells a good story. So I look at narat. Is that present tense? Because tells is present tense. The answer is yes, so I have a matching sentence. The boy cries. So I look at lakrma, bot. Is it present tense? Because cries is present tense. The answer is no, it is not. So I do not have a matching sentence. This is identifying the translations with the verbs that it goes with. The next thing I'm going to look at is you have to remember the stories that we had. The stories that we read were Fabula Mirabilis, Dakin's, Postcanum, Animal Ferox, and Metella et Melissa. It is best for you to go back and reread these stories. Shouldn't take you too long. But then you need to know what the characters did in those 5 stories. For example, is Caecilius in Fabula Mirabilis? Yeah, he was sitting there eating. He was in this one and this one as well. He was also in this one. He was not in Metella at Melissa. Clemens, which one was he in? Dacons, Felix, Grumio, Melissa at Metella, Pugnax, Quintus, Recipilis. Where or which stories were they in and what did they do? So I want you to look through those really quickly. And you guys decide, here I'm going to hit pause, you guys decide what they did in each one of those. Okay, the first thing that I would do is I would look at the stories and try to summarize what happened or the action in each one of those stories. The Fabula Mirabilis is a story about the werewolf. Remember that Felix tells that story. So Felix tells a story in Fabula Mirabilis. That's also where they decide that Dacons is not there and that they need to go look for him. Clemens is the one that goes and looks for him. Then, of course, we get the story of the werewolf, and he was that soldier that turned into a werewolf. And Dacons is when Dacons encounters Pugnax, which is that gladiator who thinks he's a lion and drags him into the amphitheater and kills him. Dacons is also where Clemens and those other slaves tell the story about what happened to Dacons. Post-Canaan is after dinner. Everybody's going home. Everybody's scared. You have the cat howling and all that stuff going on. Animal Ferox was when Caecilius took Quintus and Felix on a hunt, and Felix falls down after throwing a spear and missing a boar. So apparently he wasn't a fierce and brave hunter like he thought. He wasn't very good at it, apparently. And Quintus saves him with his pinpoint accuracy with the spear. Metella at Melissa. This is the story where Melissa is upset because Grumio and Clemens are making fun of her because she's not very good. You know, she cooked the wrong food. She didn't put everything back in the tablina. And then Metella says, "Oh no, you're a super slave because you take care of me best." And apparently that is Melissa's job, is to take care of her mistress. So that's what I do to kind of go through those stories and make sure that you understand what happened in those stories. Next, we have identifying and translating verbs. Make sure that you can go through this whole list right here and decide whether or not it's present tense or whether or not it is perfect tense. So I'm going to hit pause and let you go through there. Translate them as you go. Okay, if I were you, I'd go through these as quickly as possible to make sure that I understood what tenses they were. Conspicit, present tense. Laborat, present tense. Canawit is perfect tense. Ambulabat is imperfect tense. Got that ball marker. Conspexit, perfect tense. Faciebant, imperfect tense. Got that ball marker. S is present. Current is present. Remember, the perfect of current is concurrent. Kotserant, perfect. Habebat, imperfect. Got that ball marker. Ladawit, perfect. Contendant, present. Intelligent is perfect. Erat, ERA, is a tense marker for the imperfect and conjugations of sum. Present with facit, perfect. That erant is the clue there. Decabot has the BA, that's imperfect. Perfect for laborawit. Concurrent, that's the perfect for current. So I have a perfect tense. Coquit, present. Habuit, perfect. It's got the clue for the U. Discuss it is a little tough, but that's perfect. I just have to remember those endings, right? For my, well, you got an S there, so that's a clue. Fecit, that has a long mark there, so that's perfect. Intellegit, present. Amont, present. Labrabant, BA, imperfect. Sum is present. Iram's got that ERA, that's an imperfect marker. Present for Tourette. Conspexerant, you have two. You have the X and the arent to give you a clue for the perfect. With Tuperawayerant, again, you got the V and the erant to help you out with that. That's perfect. Ambulat, present tense, no markers there. Audi, present tense, nothing there. Coquebot, got a BA, that's an imperfect marker. Ambulawit is perfect. With Tuperant is present. Don't let that fool you. It's not, the ERA is not a tense marker unless it is a conjugation of sum, like those two. So that is a present tense verb. Habebant, got a BA, that's imperfect. Spectot, present. Festinot, present. Festinabat, got a BA, that's imperfect. Decit, present. Time bont, got BA, imperfect. Desperabant, got a BA, that's imperfect. Dixerent, got an errant as a clue. You also remember that the S, U, V, and X are, and the macron, are clues for the perfect tense, and in that case, I've got that X sitting there. So go back through those again. I'll go over it one more time. You should be able to do this quickly, recognize them very quickly. We have present, present. Here, I'll go this way. Present, present, perfect, imperfect, perfect, imperfect, present, present, perfect, imperfect, perfect, present, perfect, imperfect, present, perfect, imperfect, perfect, perfect, present, perfect, got the U, perfect, got the S, fecit, it has a macron, so that's perfect, present, present, imperfect, present, imperfect, present, perfect, perfect, present, present, imperfect, perfect, present, present, oh no, sorry, imperfect, present, present, imperfect, present, imperfect, imperfect, imperfect. Should be able to go through them that quickly. And that'll help you out on the test. Make sure that you know every one of these tenses as you go forward. English derivatives. This is a skill from Latin that can help you as you are reading through some of your lit classes, some of those standardized tests that you take. These can really help you out if you can remember some of the vocabulary that we're used to. For example, lacrimose comes from lacrimare, so it's got something to do with crying. In this case, it's somebody who's upset. Lunar comes from luna, which means moon, so lunar has to do with the moon. Rogo is it asking, so inter means between, so if I'm asking between people, I'm asking questions, I'm interrogating somebody. Omnivores, you've got omni, which means all, vor, which means eats, like a detrivore eats dead things, an herbivore eats herbs or grasses and things like that, a carnivore eats carnus, which is meat, and an omnivore eats everything. Narrative from naro, which is to tell. Tacit from takeo, which is to be silent. So tacit is somebody who's being, silent. Mortuary, having to do with mortuus, which is dead, and mortuary is a place that we bury the dead. Parasol is part of the sun, so we have something that covers us from the sun. Collaborate is laboro, work, and co, together. So if we collaborate, we're working together on something. Correspond, again, co, together. Respond, responding, together. A correspondence is two people that are communicating between each other. Parachute, para, which is nearly. I'm not sure what chute means, and I'm not looking it up. But a parachute is something that we jump out of the sky and we throw it above us, and it gently brings us to the ground. Umbrella is an interesting one. I want to talk about this real quickly. We get this double L here, and we call that a diminutive. We have a puella, which means girl, and that double L means little. Basically, anytime that we see those double L's, it means little. So this is a little shadow, and an umbrella creates a little shadow for us to protect us from the sun and also from the rain. Annihilate, coming from nihil. So if I annihilate someone, I make them nothing. Century from, centurion. Centurion is part of a group of 100 people. Conspicuous from conspicuo. Conspicuous is to catch sight of. Somebody who is conspicuous is easily seen or easily caught in sight of. I completely made that cotton up. You can catch sight of them easily. They're conspicuous. Operate, co, operate together. Fact from facio. Something that is done or made is a fact. Intelligible from intelligo, which is to understand. So intelligible means it's able to be understood. Pestiferous from pestis, which means ornery or pest. Pestiferous is somebody who's ornery, full of orneriness. Umbrageous from umbra, which means shadow. So umbrageous is a shadowy, it's an adjective meaning shadowy. Cultural questions, which seems to be a favorite part of the test. So I'll go over these, and hopefully we'll do a little bit better on those true and false questions when it comes to the cultural questions. Why did the dead have to be buried properly? If you did not bury the dead properly, then they would come back as haunty haunts, and they would have ghosts, and they would haunt you until you buried them properly. What was the dead given during funeral ceremonies, and why? Well, they were given things they would have used in everyday life. If I were a mason, they may give me a trowel. If I were a shoemaker, you may give me the tools to make shoes. If I loved wearing my shoes or I loved wearing my brooch, you will want to make sure and put that into my funeral ceremony and make sure that I was buried with it. Why? Well, the Romans believed that people, when they were dead, wanted to continue with their everyday activities. So if someone had their favorite dress, had a favorite tunic, had a favorite piece of jewelry, you would want to make sure that that went into that ceremony, got buried with them, because if not, then you would be haunted. If you remember, one of the stories in the book was that a woman was missing one of her shoes. I don't know what husband would only bury one shoe. Maybe he was mad at her. But she haunted him until he put the shoe in her resting place. What was a normal form of burial? Most of the time they would cremate the individual. They would put it in an urn. They would have some sort of mausoleum that they would put them in. A lot of times these were massive monuments for the dead. Sometimes they would even have dining areas in there. A lot of times they would take a piece of the person, a bone or something like that, and they would bury it and also cremate. And that burying is called inhumation, and cremation is what the burning of the body was. Where were the tombs located and why? They were usually located in areas where there would be a lot of people passing by. The living believed that the dead wanted to stay around the living. Where were the tombs located and why? Along the road. Oh, I just did that one. My bad. How did the Romans care for the dead even after their burial? They still fed them. They would bring flowers to their grave sites. They would offer beans and eggs and lentils. No hamburgers, no French fries, no pizza, but they did offer them beans, lentils, and eggs. How were the tombs decorated? With flowers. They tried to make it really happy place because they believed that the dead were unhappy, and they wanted to try to get the dead to forget about the fact that they were dead. So they believed that making it pretty and making it appeasing to them, that they would be happier in their death. Remember, you don't want anybody haunting you. What were Romans' thoughts on the Epicurean view of death? Well, Epicurus believed that once you died, you were dead. There was no afterlife. You ceased to exist. The breath of your body left, and you were done. They didn't really buy that. Some of them did, but most of the Romans did not buy the Epicurean idea of death. What were the views concerning heaven and hell? Well, early they believed that there was a heaven and a hell, that you had an underworld where the wicked were punished and the good were allowed to live in relatively happy lives. There are a lot of stories in the underworld of people that did something bad in life and were punished for it. If you remember, we have Tantalus, who had a river flowing from his mouth. He couldn't drink. You had Sisyphus, who had to roll his rock up the hill only to have it roll back down the other side. He had to keep rolling that rock up and down. And so that was his punishment in the afterlife. So they did believe in a heaven and hell. All right. Formats that you're going to have to be aware of for your test. This is basically the formats that you're going to have grammatically on your test. You're going to get fill in the blanks, and then on some of them you're going to get fill in the blanks, and you're going to have some choices. So tense translation, that's one of the ones that's on your test. So you're going to read this, Grumio was cooking the peacock, and then you have to fill in the blank. I want you to go through these right here and answer them, and we'll see how you did. Okay, here are the answers for that first column. What I wanted to do is I wanted to look at the verb that I was using, was cooking, decide whether or not to use it as present, imperfect, or perfect. Was is a tense marker for imperfect. That's why I use kene bath. The centurion runs through the road. Runs is my verb. That's present tense, which is why I gave you the present tense correct. Praised, perfect tense, so I need to make it perfect. She is praising, so I'm going to use laudo, laudare. I look at the third principal part. It is laudawi. I give it a T to make it third person and singular for Melissa, and I get laudawit. They were afraid. Afraid. Oh, I messed up. Was or were is a tense marker for imperfect. So I would have tare bont. The NT for they, the BA for the imperfect. I actually missed that word there. My bad. Okay, I want you to look on the right-hand column. These are more context. What would a gladiator do? What about the knight? What about the boy? Try to fit those using context. I'll hit pause and let you go. Okay, here we have the gladiators. What would they do in the arena? Well, they probably wouldn't eat. They wouldn't be sleeping. They would be killing people. If the moon was not shining, then I would not have a rock knight, nor would I have a precious knight. I would have an obscure knight. If the boy was praising the actor, if the boy was praising the actor, it would be laudawit, because NT says plural and puer is not plural, puer is singular. That's why I chose the singular instead of the plural ending. That's it for this review. Good luck, and hopefully this gets you started studying. Remember, this is to get you started. This is not to be your only form of studying.